Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Islamic Audiobooks collection. I will be reading When the Moon Split by Safiur R Mubarakpuri, which we downloaded from kalamullah.com. Let's read.
Page 122. In the 13th year of the Prophet peace be upon him's mission, many pilgrims from Yathrib made their way to Mecca, Muslims and pagans alike. The Muslims wanted to meet the Prophet peace be upon him and invite him over to move to Yathrib. The harassment, abuse and fear that overshadowed the Prophet peace be upon him and his followers in Mecca had dismayed the Muslims of Yathrib, who resolved to offer the Prophet peace be upon him their loyal protection if he moved there. They arranged a secret meeting with him late one night at Aqaba after the Hajj. To keep their meeting a secret from the Meccan pagans, the 73 Muslims from Yathrib sneaked out to Aqaba, some in pairs, some alone, to make what was to be known as the second pledge of Aqaba. All but 11 were from the Khazraj tribe. 2 women were also present, Nasiba bint Ka'b from Banu Najjar and Asma bint Amr from Banu Salama. The Prophet peace be upon him was accompanied by his uncle Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, who, though not Muslim at the time, was concerned about his nephew's welfare. Abbas began by saying, "The Prophet peace be upon him has both security and honour in Mecca. If you cannot guarantee to protect him in Yathrib, then let him remain in Mecca." Bara bin Marur, may Allah be pleased with him, spoke for the Muslims of Yathrib. "We are determined to offer our loyalty to the Prophet peace be upon him and sacrifice ourselves for him, and we are willing to make a covenant to this effect." The Prophet peace be upon him recited some verses of the Qur'an and had the men from Yathrib take the following oath: "We will worship none but Allah, and we will never associate any partner with him. We will obey the Prophet, peace be upon him. We will give our wealth freely in prosperity and in poverty. We will counsel others to do good deeds and instruct them to refrain from evil. We will serve Allah even when others show contempt. We will protect the Prophet, peace be upon him, as we protect our women and children." Additionally, according to Ubadah, the Yathrib Muslims also pledged not to disobey those in authority. Bara bin Marur took the Prophet peace be upon him's hand and said, "I swear by the one who has sent you with the truth, we shall certainly protect you as we do our families. By Allah, we are sons of battles, and weapons are our toys. This is what we have inherited from our ancestors." Abul Haytham bin Ali Dayhan then said, "O Prophet, peace be upon him, we are bound to our people by a covenant, and by pledging loyalty to you, we are about to cut off all our old ties. If success comes to you and you should conquer Mecca, will you return to Mecca and leave us defenceless?" The Prophet peace be upon him smiled and said, "No, blood is blood and destruction is destruction. I am of you and you are of me. I will wage war against those who make war upon you, and be at peace with those who are at peace with you." "You all know what you are agreeing to," Abbas warned. "All of you are pledging to go to war, so what will you do if you lose all your wealth and property, and all your leaders are killed? Will you abandon the Prophet, peace be upon him? If so, let him stay in Mecca, because if you forsake him, it will be a disgrace in this world and the next. However, if you stand by him, even in the face of destruction, you will find a reward in this world and the next." The Yathrib Muslims listened to Abbas and then vowed that they would support the Prophet, peace be upon him, no matter how great the risks involved. Someone then asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, "Tell me, O Prophet, peace be upon him, what will we get in exchange for all this?" "Paradise," the Prophet peace be upon him replied simply. "Give us your hand," the people said. Asad bin Zurara then took the Prophet peace be upon him's hand in his and addressed the gathering. "O people of Yathrib, after a long journey we have found the Prophet of God. Taking his hand means incurring the enmity of all the Arabs, the deaths of our chiefs in his defence, and the clash of swords. If you are prepared for this, take the Prophet, peace be upon him's hand, and with Allah lies the reward. If, however, you have any reservations, forsake him now." Unswerving in their faith, the assembly cried out, "Remove your hand, Asad. We are ready to clasp the Prophet, peace be upon him's hand." Some sources indicate that Asad bin Zurara was the first to take the oath, while others name Abul Haytham bin al-Dayhan and Bara bin Marur as the first. The two women present took the oath without shaking hands. After everyone had taken the oath of allegiance, the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked the people to select 12 men who would be responsible for the affairs of the community. 9 members of the Khazraj tribe were chosen, along with 3 from the Aus tribe. The 9 Khazraj chiefs were Sa'd bin Ubadah bin Zalim, Asad bin Zurara bin Ads, Sa'd bin Rabia bin Amr, Abdullah bin Rahawa bin Tulba, Rafi bin Malik bin Ajlan, Bara bin Marur bin Sakhar, Abdullah bin Amr bin Haram, Ubadah bin Samit bin Qais, and Mundir bin Amr bin Khanis. The 3 chiefs from the Aus tribe were Usaid bin Haydar bin Samak, Sa'd bin Khatima bin Harith, and Rifa bin Abdul Mundir bin Zubair. After these 12 were elected, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said to them, "You are like the apostles of Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him. You are responsible for the community in Yathrib, while I am the caretaker of the entire body of Muslims." Just as the people were about to disperse, a strange voice was heard calling out, "O men of the camp, will you not deal with Muhammad, peace be upon him? Right now, disbelief has prevailed, and he and his followers are preparing to fight you." The Prophet, peace be upon him, knew that it was a demon speaking. He called back, "O enemy of Allah, soon I will deal with you." The Prophet, peace be upon him, then told the Muslims to return quietly to their beds as day was about to break. The next morning, the Quraysh, having heard a rumour about the pledge at Aqaba, went to the Yathrib camp to protest against what had happened. They resented their visitors' patronage of someone they deemed to be an outcast and voiced their displeasure about any contact between the contingent from Yathrib and the Prophet, peace be upon him. The polytheists of Yathrib, who knew nothing about the event, insisted nothing had taken place, while the Muslims kept silent. The Quraysh reluctantly accepted the polytheists' reassurances and returned home. Later, however, the Quraysh found out that the rumour was in fact true. Infuriated, they sent their horsemen to apprehend any who took part in the pledge, and at Ar-Raheeq they captured Sa'd bin Ubadah and Mundir bin Amr. While Mundir bin Amr managed to escape, Sa'd was bound and taken to Makkah. The Muslims from Yathrib planned to raid Makkah in order to free their brother Muslim. Before they could carry out their plans, however, Sa'd was freed by 2 Makkans, Mutim bin Aday and Harith bin Harb, whose caravans Sa'd protected in Yathrib. Sa'd rejoined the others and they all returned home safely. The second pledge of Aqaba had changed the equation considerably for the Muslims. They now had a new refuge in Yathrib, and its people were ready to protect them. Soon the Prophet, peace be upon him, received revelation about migration to Yathrib. He told his companions, "I have been informed that we will one day migrate from Makkah to a land of dates. I think that it is either Yamama or Hijr." On another occasion, he, peace be upon him, said, "I have been shown the place to which you will migrate. It lies between 2 hills of lava. It is either Hijr or Yathrib." Taking advantage of this new haven that had been offered to them, several Muslims migrated to Yathrib following the pledge. The first emigrant was Abu Salama Makhzumi, may Allah be pleased with him, the husband of Salama, may Allah be pleased with her. He attempted to migrate with his wife and children a year before the second pledge of Aqaba, but his clan would not allow him to take his family, so he was forced to migrate by himself to Yathrib. A year later, Salama, may Allah be pleased with her, was allowed to join her husband. Amir bin Rabi'ah, his wife Layla bint Abi Hathma, and Abdullah bin Makhtum migrated after Abu Salama. Getting away proved difficult though, because they had to slip out of Makkah past the watchful Quraysh. Umar bin Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, however, left Makkah in full view of the Quraysh, and no one dared to try to stop him. He also took 20 others with him. Soon, nearly all the Muslims in Makkah had migrated to Yathrib. Even the refugees in Abyssinia made their way there after hearing about the pledge at Aqaba. However, Abu Bakr, Ali, Suhaib, and Zayd bin Haritha, may Allah be pleased with him, stayed in Makkah together with those Muslims who were unable to migrate. The Prophet, peace be upon him, stayed on in Makkah as well, awaiting Allah's permission to leave. He asked Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, to wait with him. Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, had 2 very fast camels, and he would feed them acacia leaves to make them even stronger and swifter. This way, he and the Prophet, peace be upon him, could make a speedy escape once Allah's command to leave Makkah came. The Quraysh were enraged that the Muslims had found a place in the Arabian Peninsula itself where they would be able to thrive. They also feared that the Muslims would become strong enough to control the northern trade routes and disrupt the pagans' trade. Since the Meccans depended on the goods carried by caravans to and from northern Arabia and Syria, their fear was not unfounded. There was also the growing worry that the Prophet, peace be upon him, himself might escape any day to Yathrib, where his followers awaited him, and that he would set up a new power base, an eventuality which had to be avoided. To discuss their concerns, a special council was held at Dar al-Nadwa. Most of the prominent chiefs of the Quraysh were present. Iblis, Satan, was also present, disguised as Sheikh Jalil of Najd. Abu al-Aswad opened the meeting by saying, "Let us drive Muhammad, peace be upon him, out of our territory and be rid of him. That will set the matter right." Sheikh Jalil didn't like this idea. "Do you not see how sweet his words are and how he wins the hearts of people? If we exile him, he will simply find another tribe and make them his followers. With their help, he will attack your city and deal with you as he pleases. Think of another plan. Let us imprison him until he dies. He will experience the same kind of death poets of old did," Abu Bakhtari suggested. Sheikh Jalil interjected again. "By God, if you make him a captive, the news will reach his companions who love him more than their fathers and sons. They might raid your territory and free him. Once their numbers increase, they will return and conquer you. Think of another plan." Finally, Abu Jahl, himself a rival of Satan, put forth his idea. "I have my own opinion," he began. "I see that none of you has touched on it so far. We should select a strong and smart youth of noble birth from each tribe. Each youth will be given a sword, sharp and deadly. These young men will move toward the Prophet as one man and strike him as one man. Since all the clans will share his blood, Banu Abdul Manaf, Muhammad, peace be upon him's protectors, cannot take on all the Quraysh at one time. They will then have to accept blood money that we can pay off easily. This is the best plan of all," Sheikh Jalil declared approvingly. The council disbanded, relieved at having a solution at hand. Now it was time to make the necessary preparations. Meanwhile, Jibreel, peace be upon him, came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, with the tidings that Allah had ordered the Prophet, peace be upon him, to migrate. Jibreel, peace be upon him, told him the exact time he should depart and informed the Prophet, peace be upon him, of the plot to assassinate him. "Don't sleep in the bed you usually sleep in," he advised the Prophet, peace be upon him. At noon, when everyone was napping, the Prophet, peace be upon him, went to the house of Abu Bakr Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, and told him the happy news. Quickly, they began to prepare camels for the long journey. They also hired Abdullah bin Urayq al-Laythi to lead them to Yathrib. Abdullah knew the area between Makkah and Yathrib well, and although he was not Muslim, he agreed to escort the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, secretly. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told Abdullah to meet them near Mount Thor in 3 nights. Meanwhile, the Prophet, peace be upon him, began to engage himself in day-to-day activities so that no one would suspect that he was about to leave Makkah.
Jazakallah khair for listening.